the whole show could be about Lundgren's performance. Then there's the whole shtick with the ears, you know?
His ear obsession, yeah. And his ear puns. There's at least 3 of them in the movie.
Yeah.
When he takes over and the scientist like asks him a question, he goes, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What's your favorite scary movie? Swallow this.
Well, welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Arrow in the Head show, which would make me, of course, Lance Velchuk, and my host, the one, the only, Mr. John Fallon, the Arrow himself, buddy. Merry Christmas, Merry post-Christmas. How you doing?
Yeah, Merry Christmas was 2 days ago, right? Yeah, so, I'm good, man. I'm great. So you had a good Christmas?
I mean, I was part of the Southwest show, so I got canceled and stayed home. So it was fine. What about you? You're supposed to go out to the mountains, remember?
I did actually. I went out the mountains with my chick in California, so it was nice to see snow. Reminds me of home, Canada, climb some mountains. Of course, the place I rented it because they rented skis. But when I got there, the place that rented skis burned down, and they didn't bother to update the website, the usual. So I didn't ski, so that sucked.
Oh man, but I'm sorry.
I climbed mountains, I hiked, and it was nice to be in fresh air. And now I'm back in the bunker and prepping for New Year's, man.
I know it's coming up, man. This is always that odd time, after Christmas before New Year's, where it's this weird, I call it the fog,
Yeah. Nothing's really going on, like business-wise. Everybody's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But after New Year's, then, business kicks back in and
quarter one, back to the game.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't think we could have picked a better choice for our last Arrow in the Head show of 2022. But before we dive into that, you know where I'm going. What up?
Let's do it.
What up?
What are you drinking, huh?
Yeah. What up?
All right, buddy. I'll go. I got something before I left. Assuming I was going to be drinking it back home, but I'm going to drink it with you. It's one of those weird, like pre-made drinks. It's a Manhattan, but it's a Glenfiddich Scotch Manhattan.
Oh, nice.
Now, I'm not usually a Scotch and mixer guy. I usually like Scotch on its own. I don't like Scotch and Coke and shit. But it isn't bad. It isn't bad. What about you?
I'm actually jealous of you right now. What about me? I'm going easy, Jameson and ginger ale.
Oh, dude, I've had many a days whiskey and ginger ale. That cuts it so well, man. It's a slippery slope. I'm happy. It's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cheers, my man. Cheers to all of you. I hope you had a great Christmas, and let's dive into the bad boy.
Hello, my friends! Hey!
One of my favorite movies growing up. It holds up very well, and we are talking about, of course, 1992's Universal Soldier.
Actually, when we decided to do an episode on this movie, I didn't realize it was actually the 30th anniversary of the film.
Oh my God, 1992. It's 2022.
Yeah.
You're right. That's
30 fucking years, bro.
Wait, why do you make this all dark? Now I'm sad.
You old cunt.
Where's the time gone? 30 years ago. That is. Everybody looks so good. I hope I aged this well. 30 years, come on. They're all great looking.
Actually, Van Damme and Lundgren took part in like a celebration in the movie or something in Manchester.
Protein juice, and we did go to the gym, and sometimes we fought to get the gym first. Remember?
Yeah, and I was always worried Jean-Claude's arms were going to be bigger than mine. I was worried about that.
Yeah, they still look good, man. They still look good.
And I'm glad. It's important to me. I mean, I know they're action stars, but I always get worried, because sometimes you love a film and they find out the actor's like, it's not one of my favorites. I love that Van Damme and Lundgren both embrace this. Like, I know it's good, but I'm happy to know they think so as well. Because as an actor, you could probably admit it might not be what you had in your head. It might not have turned out as you wanted. So it's cool that they're like still engaging with this 30 years later.
Actually, you know what? I don't know if you know this. For shits and giggles, when the film came out, Lundgren and Van Damme were at the Cannes Film Festival, and they got in a little fucking heated tussle. And
for the movie.
Well, for a while, people didn't know if it was legit or if it was just, you know, a promotion for the film. But for a little bit, everybody thought it was legit. You know, that's them then. Now, before we saw them now, still looking good, I think. Obviously, it actually wound up. It was a marketing stunt just to push the film, and I thought it was very clever.
I love that they were both at Cannes, you know, or Cannes. That's proper to say. That's awesome.
Cannes,
what a great time. But I have such a heart. I hate the word con. It sounds like I'm from California.
Hello
it's
there.
No,
it's con. Hello there. I'm British, but I'm not.
Well accent. But it's cool though. They're both there. What time and place, man? Like Lundgren and Van Damme at the top of their game at the Cannes Film Festival.
Awesome.
The 90s, man. The 90s. I miss it.
Can't go wrong. Look, man, I gotta say it. You're not gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm not gay.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
But Van Damme's ass in that movie is stupid. It's ridiculous. I mean, you could like flick quarters off that ass and they pop back in your face.
I mean, and he always showed it, dude. He always showed it because he knew.
And that's smart.
He knew. Yeah, I mean, he was in shit, dude. The guy's in great shape. Like, I'm sorry. I'm glad we're in a time and place where like you could just freely admit, like, yes, that is what somebody who like takes care of nutrition and workouts looks like. That is like that's a man. You know, I'm a boy. That's a man.
He went beyond his audience. That's what was smart, because you know his audience are, you know, testosterone fuel action guys, whatever. But by showing that pristine ass, he's getting the gay crowd and he's getting the female crowd. I was talking to my chick about, have you seen Universal Soldier? What's the first thing she said? Oh, the one with Van Damme's ass. I'm like, yep, that's the one. You know,
I mean, that name's like 6. You're like, okay, out of these 6, do you remember this one?
But his ass in this film is glistened. It's like oiled up with like baby oil. It's shining. It almost looks like the Christmas star. You know, that ass. You know, so
that's what he's cooling off his junk in front of the air conditioner.
Yeah. That's it. The show's done. It fucking owns. It fucking rocks. That's it. We're done. What can I say? For me, it was a movie that's aged very well, as you just said. It just gets better with time. I saw it on the big screen when it came out.
And, oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a big deal. You know, Van Damme and Lundgren in the same movie. They fight at the end. I mean, oh my God. So, of course, my expectations were really high, and the movie at the time did not meet them, especially the final fight, where at some point they get in a barn, and then the camera pans, ping, pow, ping, like a fucking cartoon, you know? Like, hey, man, I want to see the fight, motherfuckers. But with time, it has aged very well. And funnily enough, it's a movie that I quote on a regular basis. There are lines from that movie that I use in my everyday life.
What's one of those quotes?
When I finish a drink sometimes and with my friends, I'm like, it's empty.
It's empty.
Or my favorite one, when shit's going bad in my life, I always say, are we having fun yet?
Are we having fun yet?
So many fucking lines from Andrew Scott. We could just do the whole show about Andrew Scott lines. Lundgren really gives one of my favorite performances of his.
Yes, I was going to say that, you know, for some reason, I always forget. And every time I watch it, I'm reminded. I mean, I always remember this being even for most of my life, like in terms of like Van Damme kicks ass and Lundgren kicks ass. But every time I watch it more and more, I'm like, man, Lundgren steals this entire movie. Like he is the kind of baddie, you know, like you've told me something once that most actors, if they get a chance, would rather play the bad guy because it's more of a fun role. And this is the example of that. He's just going fucking buck wild.
Yellow traitoring motherfuckers. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Just being like, you know, but it's dark humor, the black comedy of it. No, dude, Dolph, I'll admit right now, he does overshadow Van Damme 100%.
Well, you know, he has the fun role.
Yes.
You know, and I wouldn't say overshadows Van Damme because they both basically they're zombies. They're both zombies. So how do you play a zombie who slowly starts to recollect who they were? There's not really that many rules, so you could really go apeshit. Van Damme went the more stoic, and really, you know, I always felt Jean-Claude has like like perfect comedic timing. I mean, that guy should do comedies. I think he's hilarious, and he shows it in this movie. But he's more stoic, more internalized, like, you know, facial expressions or whatever. You know, look for something. For what? Something hard. You know, it's
he goes straight back up.
Exactly. Where Lundgren just fucking chews the scenery, but not in a bad acting way, in a fun way. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he just fucking kills. When he walks into like the supermarket with the bodies looking for ice, you know, and he starts going on this rant, this monologue rant, you know, about goop traders and they're everywhere, and then, you know, the cops come in and bang, 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 he shoots them all. You see, they're everywhere. You know, I just a fun performance by Lundgren, man.
And
Really
his
fun
voice, the inflection is interesting because you're doing it perfectly. It's he keeps going up. It's this really bizarre performance that I really like. I wrote it down. Hold on. And that thing goes, I'm fighting this thing. It's like kick ass or kiss ass, and I'm busting heads.
I kick ass or kiss ass, and I'm busting heads.
Like that alone, it's like really bizarre, but he's just
It's awesome.
owns it. Yeah. No,
It's
that whole
awesome.
scene in the grocery store is, I wrote it down as one of the best because he comes in, cool shot. It's like a following shot. He's dragging the bodies, asks a 12-year-old for the freezer, and then just kind of spouts off his, his war mantra thing.
And then, you know, I mean, like I said, the whole show could be about Lundgren's performance. Then there's the whole shtick with the ears, you know?
His ear obsession, and his ear puns. There's at least 3 in the movie.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
After like he takes over, they're calling the sergeant. And he goes, he can't hear you, and puts the ears down. You know, or when the scientist, when he takes over, and the scientist like asks him a question, he goes, he has a necklace. He goes, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
And I own it in the 4K as well. So it's
Nice.
like I'm all about this, man. And I love that this is Roland Emmerich, man. I forgot. I forgot. And after looking it up, I was like, of course, he has an eye for action. It's always very wide, very scope.
Yeah.
It's very pretty. I always think he has a good eye for stuff. And it's, you know, this is a big budget action flick, especially for the time. It's quaint now, but I mean, you know, what I wrote it down. This was 23 million, which is 48 million in inflation. That's a big movie. You know, this was like an epic thing with 2 of the 90s action baddies, and it's like this is a cool thing that we wouldn't see nowadays, man. Like this kind of movie would have to be low budget. They wouldn't give it a Grand Canyon chase. They wouldn't be blowing up gas stations, you know, all practical. I love it, man.
It's funny because that's where they wound up, the sequels. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the 2 because, you know, there was the first movie, then 2 TV movies, then the official real sequel, The Return, which was fairly abysmal. And then John Hyam brought the franchise back at Reckoning. And
amazing sequels. I love these.
Regeneration, that's it. Yeah. Really, really great film. So one of those less is more. And I'm sure we'll cover them down the road. So let's just stick to the first one. Actually, a little known fact, did you know that Andrew Davis, the guy directed The Fugitive, Above the Law, Under Siege, was initially the writer-director?
I did not. Why did he? It seems like it'd be his kind of movie, actually.
Creative differences with Carolco. Yeah, Carolco. And then they brought in Emmerich, and Emmerich brought in Dean Devlin to rewrite the script. And that's how it came about.
Because this was his, I read his first American movie. Because after this, it's Stargate, Patriot, you know, Independence Day, all that stuff.
So I guess Moon 44 wasn't an American film then, because that was...
No. That got him hired for this. That's what I read. But it's funny. I've never really looked much into Roland Emmerich. I didn't realize he was German.
Yeah.
Even though, but when I say that, I'm like, of course, that name in a German accent is the most German name in the world. It's just, you know, it's when I find out everybody's Canadian. I'm always like, oh, man, is there any Americans anymore? You know.
And I gotta say, Van Damme. You know, we just praise Lundgren's. Actually, Lundgren, I could just go on and on and on.
Are you ready? It's memory clearance time.
What does he say? When I say jump, you say how high. Got it? Why can't you get it in your fucking head?
Yeah, he's banging his head against the car. Yeah.
Okay, guys, sorry, I'm going to Lundgren tangents, but when he gives the speech at the end to Van Damme with his parents there, you got your poor folks dragged into this. They could be court-martialed. I'm like, what's going on? I love it, but what's going on? He just goes into these tangents, you know, and I think it's really a brilliant performance. But with that said, Van Damme's pretty good too.
Oh man, this is a classic Van Damme. Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, I just want to eat.
I just want to eat.
Okay, well let's get into this real quick.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. So
my favorite scene. There's nothing I love more. It's I think it's 90s. It's probably late 80s as well. John, if I ever were to ever write or have an action movie, there's the most important thing is to have some sort of guy in some place with a bunch of locals who get up all angry and fight you one by, you know, he walked on to my marijuana farm. There's like three other guys. This has that whole thing where he's in the you know, he's like, this cheapskate can't pay. And then all the fucking pool table guys come up and fucking, and it's just a cool like romp. He's just kicking ass because all he wants to do is eat. I was going to say the whole, what makes this movie interesting is essentially, I wrote it down. Hold on. It's an action sci-fi fish out of water road trip movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, when the cook comes out, you know, because the waitress finds out that he has no money, you know, and his face, you know.
Yeah.
And the cook comes out, you know, a big dude, you know. I forgot his name, but he had a cool name. He had a cool cook name.
Did he?
You know, I've been slaving over a hot stove all day here. I always felt that the food looked really delicious. Like I respect that cook.
Yeah, Southern food, man. He's a Southern cook in some diner.
Yeah.
He's hustling. Yeah, man. He has all the plates. At the very end, the guy goes through the window and Veronica looks at it, just fucking smiling, eating popcorn. I mean, yes, I mean, it's a funny movie. And it has that line that I think was done better back then. I do think things are overly comedic, but this never undercut tension with comedy.
Yeah.
Unless it was Lundgren being sort of a maniac, but I felt the comedy in this was actually surprisingly on point and balanced.
Yeah. And then there's the action. You know, again, I'm sure you could relate, and hopefully some of you people too. You watch a movie from 1992, an action film, you watch it, it's all practical. The stunt is all practical. It's so refreshing. The siege at the hotel. And Dolph is out there with an M60. You know, you can't have more 80s, even though it was 90s, than an M60 with the bullets wrapped around it. It's like gung, 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 gung. And you're like, oh, that's so beautiful. And then jumping through the walls, you know, which is pretty funny, you know, when they hit the brick wall and he just looks at her like, that's not going to happen, you know. So that's pretty fucking funny. And then, you know, the chase scene on the bus with the grenade.
Oh, yeah.
The big, beautiful white shot. So, you know, the action is on point. The directing is on point. For me, seeing practical action, none of that fucking Fast and Furious VFX cars jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Fuck that shit. You could keep it.
Everything is done in camera.
Exactly. I love it.
It's low key, but 100 times better because I know what's happening. I know they're blowing the hotel up. I know that clearly they're not probably on top of the Grand Canyon, but they're close enough because we're getting the wide shots of him trying to knock it over. And it's like that alone, or just a gas station blowing up, a real explosion.
And I will say this, and this might be a sin for some people, but when the film came out, it got fairly actually lukewarm reviews, and some people were calling it a cheap knockoff of Terminator 2. And I'm going to go on record. I enjoyed this movie more than Terminator 2.
Wow, John.
You know, I like the fact it's smaller budget-wise. I feel the action is more honest. Whatever the fuck that means, by the way. Dolph is just fucking incredible in this movie. Jean-Claude as well. Even Ralph Mueller, actually. Ralph Mueller is the guy that he's one Unisols who eats the meat. Remember? I don't know.
Oh, he's a big guy, right?
Yeah, big guy. That gets the grenade. He's actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's best friend in real life. And actually, I had the opportunity to train with him at Gold's Gym. Never tell you that?
No. How?
A long story, film industry stuff, but I wound up being trained by him. Actually, here's a picture. So yeah, so that was a trip to have, like, you know, a Mr. Universe. And he's really affable, really great guy, really affable, great sense of humor. Looks fantastic. You know, even today, you know, it's and he makes me look like I'm a small person. I guess we got to talk about the broad, who I loved, who, you know, the chain smoking chick, the blonde chick.
Yeah, Ellie Walker. She plays Veronica.
Yeah, I thought she was fantastic.
Oh, she was great. What is she from? I looked her up and it's like, dude, I guess I know her from this movie, but I swear, I guess she might look like a Meg Ryan's sister. Maybe that's why. But I swear that I know her from something.
She looks like she should be on Ally McBeal or something. That's what she looks like to me.
Yeah, she's like the 90s haircut, the 90s fashion, everything about it. No, she was great. I mean, she plays this sort of like sarcastic, mouthy reporter.
Yeah.
Playing off Van Damme's sort of stoic brain fog. No, yeah, she was great, man. She was great. I hold her own. Only issue is she should have died. That grenade part band should have absolutely killed her.
Oh, dude. See, you had to say that. After fucking Dolph throws the grenade and there's like a profile shot, slow-mo. Woo! What about dislikes?
I got to be real honest. I don't have any. Any that I would say weren't. I mean, I guess the score could have been better.
I love the score. What are you talking about?
I felt it was a little generic.
I love it. Love it.
But that's the thing. I don't actually have anything.
I got two things.
Okay, let's see what you got, man. Because I don't. I'm like, it's great.
I didn't buy the parents.
Oh, okay, yeah. They were like old. They looked like fucking farmers from like the
They
World War II.
look like actors. They look like actors to me. They didn't look like they're legit farmers. I didn't buy it. But who gives a shit? You know. And I didn't buy the guy that plays, I guess, the doctor.
Oh, the character actor. What is his name? I wrote it down. His name's Woodward, but he's played by Leanne Rippey. He's like in everything.
Yeah, he's in everything, playing that guy, you know?
Yeah.
But he has this super, like, I don't know, it always marked me. A super close-up at some point when he first turns. I think he turns over his shoulder and it's like an ECU, an extreme close-up on his face when Devereaux shows up. And I was like, I didn't need to see that close-up yet. I know, it's a weird qualms, but, you know, it is what it is.
I got weird qualms as well with a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I like the character actors in this. There's a guy I wrote down because every time I see him, I was like, that guy. He's like an ethnic bad guy. Because in the 90s, you always have like
Red Heat. The bad guy from Red Heat.
No, that's a great scene. That's Colonel Perry by Ed Ross. No, he's another character actor. I was talking about like the terrorist in the very beginning who's like holding everybody hostage. He's like a Latino guy. He's in like he's like a bad guy in every movie. In fact, I'll show you a clip and you know who he is. Okay. Because he was in Running Man, Commando, Predator 2, RoboCop 2, Lethal Weapon 4. He always plays the same henchman. Kind of like do you know who Al Leong is? Plays like an Asian henchman in like every movie.
In everything, 90s.
Yes, it's just I like seeing those guys. I mean, I guess those are fair. The parents I never really thought of. They were kind of just, I almost thought added in for dramatic stakes, which didn't work because I didn't give a shit. And I think in an early draft they died anyway. I'm like, what?
Andrew Scott kills the mom in an early draft,
which would have been cooler.
And he dies. Luke Devereaux, Van Damme's character, also dies. And I think it's an alternate ending on one of the discs or something. They actually shot that ending.
It would make more sense, honestly, that they're both. But I know that's sad and people don't like that. It's probably why.
I think, for me, again, outside the parents and the creepy close-up dude, I just love the shit out of the movie. I just love everything about it. The pacing, the laughs, the action, Dolph, JC. It's just the dam, the opening in the dam where, they repel. Well, not repel, actually. They walk,
runs down.
Yeah, it runs down the thing. You're like, beautiful wide shot. You don't see that magic anymore, man. You don't see that magic.
Like, it should be talked about more because it was a big budget movie. It did well. You said the reviews were good, but it made a lot of money. It made like double its budget back in the day. So I know that it's successful, clearly because they made a bunch of sequels. But to me, it's like, this is a good example of, I would say, like 90s action, practical, like you said, well-paced. This is how you write and direct an action movie. And that's the reason why, I obviously not now, but 90s and 80s Roland Emmerich is respectable, man.
Yeah. Well, it's probably, I'm not a big Emmerich fan, like I'm not an ID4 fan, or I hate that fucking movie. I hate that fucking movie, dude.
That is such a weird thing. Okay, okay, how about this? Yeah. Stargate, you hate Stargate?
No, I like Stargate.
Because that's a very similar like feeling to this, actually.
Yeah, but ID4 I completely despise.
The Patriot, come on. A classic Gibson.
The Patriot, that was Emmerich. Yeah, I love The Patriot. But who really directed it, huh?
Fair enough.
There's a lot of Gibson in The Patriot, his usual shtick, yeah. So
fair enough.
A lot of, Christian, symbolism or undercurrent or whatever.
I still love. I mean, even Jason.
I love the
Jason
movie.
Isaacs, yeah,
He's
well,
awesome.
this war's over.
I'm going to kill you.
Early Roland Emmerich to me is pretty decent, and I just think that this. Every time I watch this, it's like, yeah, what a fucking cool movie.
Good times,
right?
man.
Right.
Which is interesting because the sequel was such a misfire. The Return.
Oh, okay. Give me a minute. Let me go on this because it's important. I loved this movie so much as a kid, right? It was so important. This is one I rented the fuck out of because I was very big into like the late 80s to like 95 Van Damme, Bloodsport, probably Sudden Death. Like, I'm not saying all those are great in this era, but that was his peak. So I loved Van Damme growing up, and I was in grade school when The Return came out. And see, my friend fucking hitched a ride to the movie theater in Chicago Heights, walked up, 2 for Universal Soldier: The Return. The guy's like, "You're not old enough. Fuck off."
Really?
Never forget that. Yes. So we watched something else. And then we went home and complained to his dad. And his dad was like, well, fuck that. And drove us back up and bought us tickets and got in. I was so excited. I was like, yes, man. I got Van Damme. I got Goldberg. I was into wrestling at that time in my life. And I walked out and I had this feeling. And I was just like, like stress. Because as a kid, I don't think I could really like formulate why I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It just felt off. And then, I've seen it more and more times, and I honestly think it's one of the worst sequels. It bothers me to go from 1 to 2. It's I know sequels decline sometimes. This decline was so great, I almost felt it was personal.
I saw it with a date, and Van Damme's always been Van Damme movies at that time was more important than making out with chicks. But about 25 minutes in, I was just making out with my date the whole movie, and I didn't really see the movie until it came out on VHS, and I saw it, and it was still a piece of shit. And to this day, every time I've watched it, it's a piece of shit. But you know what? Maybe we should watch it. When I make my way down, we should watch it and see if it's still a man that's a piece of shit.
I haven't seen it in 20 years. That's how mad I was at it. So yeah, I'd love to, because part of me is like, I wonder if it's a so bad it's good movie now. Because it was pretty dorky when it came out.
Yeah,
it could be so dorky and lame that it actually might be great in that sense. I don't know, because back then I was like, I wanted good action and good writing, and it didn't have that. And I was very like turned off, but they came back with Regeneration. To me, that's the true sequel.
Yeah.
Really is. Yeah. That's the whole series is those two basically,
Actually, a little known fact, Michael Jai White is the villain in part 2, but he has a small role in the Vietnam scenes in part 1.
Yes. In the very beginning. Which, can we give a little credit? And this is just something I love at old movies. They was clearly like, I looked it up. It was like they built a stage on a golf course.
Yeah.
But it looks nothing
in
like
Arizona. Yeah. In Arizona. Yeah.
And look, I love that old fashioned like backlot look. And this isn't the backlot, but it's that same shit where it's like, it's outside. It's like not even close. There's like fake leaves and some like mist. And it's like Vietnam.
Actually, you just made me remember this, but early on, Van Damme meets like some day player actor, and he says I just lost his mind. Like the way he says it, I always thought bad acting. That's really bad acting right there.
Fucking dead! The whole fucking platoon! The sergeant's totally lost it! Went nuts! Killed everyone! Get off me!
But I guess, overall, what can you say more? It's just
see it.
Just the shot where Van Damme's fighting with Lundgren, and he gets up slowly in slow motion with the fire in the back. Remember that's
raining. Of course, I wrote it down. He gets the revenge kick. It's the most amazing thing in the world, because it's this build-up. Like that's raining. He's all soaked, and then just does a kick. I love that Van Damme's whole thing was kicks. I love it, even if it's impractical now. It's my favorite thing is he just and gives him a fucking kick. Yeah, dude.
Dolph Lundgren is like kind of like out of it. He's going, "You're dead, soldier," and he gets up. No, I'm alive. And then he fucking kicks the living shit out of him.
Yeah, just kicks him.
Oh shit. You're discharged, Sarge.
I'm upset because I forgot how much I love that we used to have epic battles and like big rainstorms,
Yeah.
It happens in
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
Right?
Lethal Weapon. It happens in Cyborg. I mean, really, it happens like 100 movies. That's something that, like, when you make an action
Yeah,
figure genre,
Cyborg, yeah.
yeah, like
The ending, yeah.
please have two men fighting in the rain, yelling, that's important to me.
I agree.
With kicks as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Actually, a little known fact again, Ralph Mueller was also in Cyborg with Van Damme. All right, I'm done now.
Yes, he was. Yeah. Oh, Cyborg's great. Let's just be honest. I love that sort of, that to me is like very kind of full moon cheese, doll man shit. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan too. And of the score of Cyborg.
Scores, I will agree. We don't ever meet on the score, but 100%. It's very distinct. For,
dun, 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 dun. Yeah. What about you guys? And dolls, of course. Have you seen Universal Soldier? Do you love Universal Soldier? Are you a fan? Let us know. And if you haven't seen it, like really seriously, do yourself a favor. You know, get a big tub of popcorn,
yes,
cold beer on the side, and just enjoy life. You know, enjoy life, because that's the kind of movie for me, and I'm sure you agree. I call it one of my comfort blanket movies, where it just makes me happy.
I sometimes, for my sister, will just randomly be like, "My name is Sergeant Andrew Scott."
My name is Sergeant Andrew Scott.
I'm like, that line delivery is just like smooth rum down my throat. I'm like, can I just have that on my ringtone? Yeah, anytime we can ever talk Universal Soldier, you count me in, buddy. I'm always there.
Definitely. And look, Happy New Year's to all of you, because I think this is going to come out on Friday, on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, no, this is the next time I see you, John, it'll be another year.
2023.
Wow.
So Happy New Year's to all of you. Happy New Year's, Lance. It really has been a pleasure working with you over the course of the year. So let's keep kicking that ass. And on that, it's empty.
No, cheers, my friend.
Cheers, bro.
Everybody
Be
else.
good.